A very good morning. You're watching our studio live coming from Warsaw. This is World Talks, and I'm your host, Klaudia Czerwińska. Just 5 days before the decision on the new president of the Republic of Croatia, the only debate between presidential candidates was held yesterday on the first channel of the Croatian radio and television. Zoran Milanović and Dragan Primorac, who entered the final round of the election race, presented their views on key issues in a debate that was further energized by replies and mutual confrontation of opinions. Often compared to the incoming president of the U.S., Donald Trump, Zoran Milanović secured a substantial victory in the first round of the country's presidential elections in Croatia in December of 2024. Incumbent head of state is projected to win around 49% of the votes, which means he will face a second round off with his nearest rival, Dragan Primorac, on January 12th. Some experts claim that this is a reason for the EU to worry, taking a look at Croatia's possible next president and why he could be a cause for concern for the European Union. I'm joined by Jacek Wojnicki, associate professor at the University of Warsaw. After this long introduction, a very good morning, and thank you for joining me on the program.
Good morning.
So we've seen the debate. There's been a 90-minute conversation that's been a back and forth when it comes to ad hominem attacks. After the debate, what is your opinion on who is actually going to win when it comes to, for example, popular vote and people who will be voting in the polls?
It's a very important question. It should be stressed in the beginning that Croatia is a quite stable democratic country. It was the sixth presidential election since the democratic transition. In the main axis of socio-political dispute, divided society and politician world into the classical right and classical left part. The main center-right grouping is the Chwacka Demokracka Zajednica, HDZ, Christian Democratic Party, originating from the nationalistic party Franjo Tudjman, the father of the independent republic. In opposite, the main center-left party is Social Democratic Party, grouping the post-communist past, but undergone quite significant programmatic, ideological, and personal transform into the Social Democratic Party. And candidate of the Social Democratic Party is Zoran Milanović, current president of the republic. We have also in Croatia the minor liberal and populist party, but they play complementary role in the two big party, Croatia, Chwacka Demokracka Zajednica and Social Democratic Party. And the main candidate in the election is currently President Zoran Milanović, candidate Social Democratic Party with populistic tendency, and opposite the HDZ, currently government party in Croatia, Dragan Primorac.
As we were looking at the conference, we know that some of the things discussed was worldview, economic, demographic, and national history issues, among others. And responding to the questions on whether Croatia should prepare for World War III, which is a big question among many people, current president emphatically denied it. He said that we are obliged to help NATO members. Other non-NATO countries do not fall into this category. Participation in the NATO mission is a participation in the war. What would you say are the differences when we're looking at a broader spectrum when it comes to support for Ukraine, when it comes to the war with Russia? What is his stance? What is the stance of both of the candidates when it comes to those two very important issues?
Yeah. Main candidates. In the election campaign, the current president, Zoran Milanović, who has been head of state since 5 years, had a strong and quite stable position. He's very strong candidate. He is a left-wing politician coming from the Social Democratic Party. And 10 years ago, he had the government who transitioned Croatia to the EU. When he won the last election, he had the opinion of the moderate, modern man in consolidity phase. Over this year, his opinion changed because he often take the populistic speech during the pandemic and migration crisis and pro-Russian context in war in Ukraine. And he changed the situation because populistic speech change small this candidacy. He is opposition to the conservative government. In government, the Minister of Science is Zoran Primorac, the second candidate. Dragan Primorac support pro-Western security policy, supporting Ukraine in the conflict with the Russian Federation. In many aspects, he speaks with the one voice with the current government HDZ. He is to close cooperation with the current government Plenković. It should be emphasized at the same time that the election were close to being decided in the first ballot because Milanović received almost 50%.
Almost
It's
50%.
very close to victory. The second Primorac received almost 20% of the votes, and he probably won't able to catch with the favorite in the election, which favorite is Milanović, I think.
I wanted to take a moment to look at the ad hominem attacks and approach of each of the candidates. So the two candidates exchanged several insults during the debate. Primorac called Milanović a Russian puppet and a friend of Milorad Dodik and Viktor Orban, and I can see that you're smiling, so there's definitely a reference there. He accused him of being dependent on Croatian taxpayers' money for the past 35 years. On the other hand, we had Milanović calling the challenger a friend of mass murders, referring to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, an illiterate and a puppet of Croatian Prime Minister Andrej Plenković. So how would you comment on this? This doesn't seem like a very genuine, very kind-hearted battle when it comes to the next president coming into office.
It's very interesting because the presidential candidate talk about key topic, yes, the economy, the army, they probably world warfare, and of course the Serbs. The debate was very energetic, very brutal, very shaped by Balkan standard, full of the conflict, yes. And we have the one strong candidate, Milanović, and second candidate, Primorac, very moderate, place in the center of the political scene, who want criticize the politics of Milanović, who is very popular. And this question about the Israel, about the Trump, want to Primorac criticize current politic Milanović. But I think it's very difficult to indicate the winner debate because the supporter stayed without his early candidates, I think.
Should the EU be concerned about Milanović coming into office? I mean, he's a president, but are there any changes that could potentially be a cause for concern when it comes to the European Union?
In constitutional Croatia, the position of president is quite weak. He haven't right to veto, but strong competence in the foreign policy, in the army, and when president have conflict with current government, it's problem for the state. And now the Milanović is in opposite to the government when Primorac is Minister of Science. But it's interesting that Croatia people very often choose one party to the government party, but second party to the presidential palace. He want to the strong executive power in one party. It's very interesting in Croatia history.
We only are left with a minute of our time, but I wanted to ask about how the public opinion shifted during this election campaign. Are there any changes that were observed? Many people actually changing their mind about how they're going to vote?
It's very interesting that turnout in the first ballot is quite low because only 46% of the people go to the poll station. I think in the second ballot, maybe the situation is the same. Only 60, only 46 below the 50% go to the ballot, and it's the good news for Milanović, I think.
Thank you so much, Jacek Wojnicki, Associate Professor at the University of Warsaw. Pleasure to have you this morning to talk.
Thanks.
Thank you. And so this would be all for now here on World Talk, but please do stay tuned as we have more news and features coming in just a moment.